it's impossible to know with absolute certainty what conditions are like there. We can assume they're really pretty grim.
Yes, we can, and we should recognise the strategic significance of Mariupol in two dimensions. The first is the Russians have to take Mariupol to complete the land bridge between Russia and Crimea. That's always been one of their main strategic objectives of this terrible war. And the second thing that's important, in the way they've had to reduce Mariupol, they failed to take it with light forces, they failed to take it with heavier forces, so they have simply basically shelled it into rubble and eventual submission. And that is very likely to be the tactic that they conclude they're going to apply to other Ukrainian cities like Kherson that you just mentioned.
General, journalists get very excited about new technology and new missiles that fly very quickly. But actually, I just wonder to what extent that when you look at the reduction of Mariupol and you see some of the other cities that are invested by the Russian army, it's old-fashioned artillery, heavy ordnance that seems to be actually causing most of the damage.
Yeah, so it's a combination of about 1,100 long-range precision missiles. They typically carry 400 to 500 kilograms of explosive, and they've been the weapon used for some of the major attacks on infrastructure. The Russian Air Force is unlike many Western air forces in that it primarily acts like an artillery arm, and it doesn't have a huge stock of precision bombs, nor pilots that are particularly skilled at precision bombing. So the Russian Air Force has been a factor. But by far, by a huge distance, the biggest killer in this war is ground-based artillery from artillery guns and tank guns. And those are the things that are going to cause most of the destruction ahead.
How easy is it, General, for the Russian forces to pacify the areas they do conquer? Or is it the case that they're given the fact that the front lines are pretty porous and there'll be Ukrainian soldiers behind them, that actually if you are a Russian infantryman sleeping at night in, close by your tank or wherever you are, is never going to be an easy night's sleep because even the ground you've taken isn't really secure?
So the Russians have got two major challenges. One is they're obviously in Ukraine and they know where the front line is. They'll tend to focus on that. But their lines of communication, the roads that all the stuff has to come down from Belarus and Russia are long, 100 to 200 miles long. And every foot of that is vulnerable to a Ukrainian attack from the flank into the convoys that sustain them with fuel, food, ammunition, and reinforcements. And the second thing, and frankly more significant, is the Russians were assuming that they were going to sweep into Ukraine and be welcomed by a very large number of Ukrainians, and they would therefore, in as much as they needed to, conduct an occupation by consent. And what they found is the total resilience and opposition of the great majority of Ukrainian people, and they are only able now to contemplate an occupation by sheer force, and they do not have the forces to do that everywhere. And what we are beginning to see is how Russia will calibrate an occupation by force, because the key decision for them is how much do they tolerate a civil population that is viscerally opposed to their presence, and how much do they try to control them by sheer violence, either by moving them or killing them at levels that will look like ethnic cleansing and genocide if they take it to the extreme they have done in other places. There is no way this occupation can succeed without the consent of the Ukrainian people, and they're never going to get the consent of the Ukrainian people.